Hello, everybody. I'm Martin Shillington, and today I'm going to be asking really dumb questions to Jay Hedley, who's going to be talking about facilitation, but there's a lot in this, so hold on tight. Jay, welcome. Max is going to be helping with some images. He may even say a few thoughts and feelings and questions and dates of courses and things like that throughout and maybe at the end. Questions, we will be picking up questions from the community, so ask your questions and Max can then bring those in, or we'll see you in the comment threads after the event. Welcome, Jay.
Hey, how you going?
Very good. Let's begin. Dive in. Firstly, facilitation. No, actually, let's go there. Yeah, who's this for? Let's start there. Who's this for? Is this for practitioners of NLP or people that haven't done NLP? What are we talking about here? What level?
So it's for people who have an understanding or a thirst for human development and an understanding of what are the means behind human development. So NLP requisite is a preference from our perspective, only because it'll help faster and keep up with us because it's a big program. Okay.
So it's not essential, but if you've got some NLP experience, you've got your practitioner, it will help. Excellent. So with that frame set, facilitation. What is facilitation? Why should people be paying attention to facilitation?
So facilitation is leading. Leading is in leadership. We know that leadership doesn't exist, but facilitation is leading, and leading is a dance. And so there are different component parts to leading. But if you look at the metaphor of a dance, leading is knowing when to lead and dip, and knowing when to follow, and knowing how to move in flow with other people, how to follow them when it's required, and pull and hold and call and point and create polarities in order to create energy in the system for which is meaning really for what it is that you have a vision for. Facilitation's the same thing. The facilitator has a vision of what it is they want to share, the information, the content, and facilitation is waking people up to the possibility of the content and teaching them or facilitating them through learning how to learn. All facilitation.
Okay. Yeah.
Understanding how I can best learn. And so a facilitator needs to understand the learning process, the leadership process, the facilitation process, how it is we like to learn. And sometimes that requires polarities. It requires an opposition stand. It requires energy in the system to be exchanged in order for something to shift in the inner game of the person.
Okay.
Of the participant.
So if we're talking in terms of got leadership and we've got coaching, so we do coaching courses, facilitation, when is somebody going to pull this way of thinking, this approach, this methodology out of their toolkit and go, I'm now doing facilitation?
So you can facilitate groups in training, you can facilitate teams, whether it be sport, whether it be leadership or management. You can facilitate, you're facilitating when you're parenting. So we can become directive parents. There's a few types of parents. You could be a prescriptive parent. You could be a directive parent. You could be a supportive parent. You could be a communing parent. You could be a collaborative parent. Leadership and facilitation is understanding how all of those work and how actually they're not separate. Okay,
perfect. Let's talk about the coaching room. How are you using what you're about to show? Because you're using this in business yourself. So what are the particular applications that you found for this?
There's a few. So we created the program with Joseph, and I created the program with Sean Asbjorn Hagens, and our request to Sean was to help us understand how we do what we do, yet we don't know how we do it. Okay. And so Sean worked predominantly with Joseph and somewhat with me to unlock that, to look at from an integral perspective and then we were looking at it from a neurosemantic perspective, how it is that we're doing what we're doing, and we were able to not only put that on the table and sort through it, but create new models, new distinctions, and new understandings from it. And so, to answer your question, it forms a part of everything that we do. From having a sales-based or buying-based conversation, facilitation is front and center. Running a training program like an NLP practitioner, we are facilitating that. People have told us that our NLP practitioners, the way we run it with 2 facilitators sat in their ass on a couple of chairs most of the time, shouldn't work. Yet it does. It's an engaging, it's an awakening process, because we're engaged in the polarity-based dialogue that awakens purpose, intentionality, energy in the systems of the learners to dialogue, to question their belief structures, to question their value structures, to step back and get perspective on what they've never had perspective on, to see their blind spots, and for when one person seeing their blind spots to spread across the whole group as a learning expression. Is we're doing it in our one-on-one coaching. We're doing it in our leadership development programs. We're doing it when I work with sporting teams. We're doing it across the board, Martin. It informs everything we do. So if you've had any interaction with us, you're going to know what it is like to be with facilitators.
So would it be correct?
Yeah.
Would it be correct to say that you are, in what we're about to go into now, and what the course goes in, is really going meta on the processes that you use? You're pulling back the wizard's curtain and showing people.
Yeah, if you like to call that. I mean, I think Grinder and Bandler called it the structure of magic when they revealed the meta model. Integral semantics and the integral semantic facilitators transcends and includes meta model as a model. And yet at its time, the meta model was the model of human language that was transformational. That's a part of this model, but it's only a part of this model. There's so much more richness and depth to this model than just, for example, meta model. And
the transcend and include is the nature of the meta that I'm really talking about, and that's what it says. They can see why you are so effective at what you do. That's really the point. Is that we're going now, and we're going to go on to the model once I ask you one more question. We are showing people your thinking, your methodology when you are doing the thing that they've already experienced very often on the practitioner. So this is why I say it's like when that this is how you do it.
This is not only how you do it, this is how you then learn, grow, and develop as your participants, as your children, as the king with and grow and develop. You're growing and developing internally at the same time, because you're not separate. And it's seeing the parts and the whole all at once at play.
Great. I've got one question, then we're going to go into the model. Polarity-based dialogue. I think that's so pivotal. Could you just give a frame of what that is, what it looks like? Because if people have experienced it on the courses already, it will help to have just a piece of content, I feel, that we can then go into.
So when we start an NLP practitioner, one of the frames that we'll often open up with is development isn't easy. And immediately sets up a polarity with people who think that development should be easy. So immediately we're creating an opposition, we're creating surprise, we're creating shock that then has people step back and go, well, I'm not sure I agree with that. And on purpose, we push in order for belief structures to come forward. Ali G, what was his name, was a master at it. Borat, his character, was a master at it, at presenting a front that people then reacted to, and stepping back and pulling the curtain open and going, it was a front to pull that forward. What Borat did really well is he brought forward people's biases.
Yeah.
Our NLP workshop, the first thing we do is present a front that then creates the resistance, that creates the energy for movement. And as we reveal the curtain of reality of what's really going on, people have got no choice to A, be engaged, and B, to look.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at the structure of human development in and of itself. Now, a polarity in the first part of your question, that a polarity in our language is two equal opposites. And so you got lots of polarities. You got masculine, feminine, you've got win, lose, good, bad, right, wrong, okay, not okay, movement, stillness. I mean, detail, big picture, all the meta programs on the spectrum of meta programs are polarities. That is, they have two equal opposite ends. Now, here's the interesting function of polarities, is that whilst I could identify with one over the other, and that's what our superego likes to do, it likes to pick a side and identify with that side, and then therefore I, as a human being, become righteous in my viewpoint, and I begin to point at a lot of wrongness. There is no rightness without wrongness. There is no wrongness without rightness. They're actually not separate. Why am I telling you this? Because when we're a facilitator facilitating, when we're holding the space, it is absolutely essential that we understand when somebody in the audience, a participant, takes a stand, they're siding with one side of a polarity. It's really important we don't get caught in that polarity ourselves, that we can see the polarity and we can then chunk up and elevate the conversation to the apex point of the polarity. And that is an essential part of integral semantic facilitators, being able to elevate the conversation, being able to step up and see the whole, not the parts, and to guide the person to seeing the tunnel vision, single-mindedness of the single-sided, of the siding with a single end of a polarity. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm right, you're wrong. Happens between wives and husbands. Happens between two drivers on the road. Happens between a shopkeeper and a customer. Polarities are everywhere. So integral semantics is about not only managing, but leading polarities on purpose in order to facilitate engagement.
Let's have a look at the model. It's great. Max. Should we start here or should we start on the other one?
Start on the other one, Max.
There we go.
Yep.
Jay, on the drive.
So,
thanks, Max.
If we, and so there's a few bits for this, but let's have a quick look at this. So the model starts at what we call place. And a place is I'm simply being. I'm not in relationship to anything. I'm not in relationship to anything. There's me moving through the world. Maybe I'm walking down the street. Maybe I'm walking the dog. A car backfires. Bang! Suddenly I'm in pole. And the pole position is actually now I'm starting to take a stand. I might think to myself, that's not okay. That person should check their engine out. It's not okay that that car comes past me, goes bang, scares my dogs. That's a pole, which leads to a polarity. Maybe I stick my finger up at the car as it goes by and I call out, you wanker. And maybe the car pulls over. And now we've got a polarity. You shouldn't have done that. Fuck you, who are you to stick your finger up at me? And now we're in polarity with each other. So there's the first three steps of the model. Place, I'm just being. Bang, pole. Bang, I'm in polarity. There's two opposing views now. The paradox component part is now the apex point, being able to see that both of those perspectives are just that. Both ends of the polarity, both parts that each of us are taking are paradoxically two parts of a single argument. And so let's say, you know, your car shouldn't have done that. my car did do that. Well, you should apologize. Well, I can't apologize for my car. We're both talking about care. So let's say the paradox is, and this is the two parts fold into care. Both of us care. Both of us might care for different things, but both of us give a shit. And that's the problem that we're having. We're just expressing it in different ways. If I can see that both of us care when that thing goes bang, I can now stop the reaction that is occurring inside of me that makes me do habituated things, like stick my finger up at the car and say, you're a wanker. And so when we can shift to paradox and we're able to hold paradox, see both parts, see the apex point simultaneously, realize that there's nothing that needs to happen, suddenly presence comes online. And it is from presence that basic knowledge in the moment appears. That is, it's not Jay's knowledge, but it is knowledge that is available from this present moment, from every aspect and every angle, because I'm not caught in the self structures that are running my predisposition with my habituated thinking patterns and my habituated behaviors. I am transcending them and choosing how I wish to respond. Now, as a facilitator, imagine what that's like. Something happens, bang! And I'm operating from immediately from seeing the paradox, a place of utter presence and basic knowledge in the moment. I'm able to point at the truth of that bang. I'm able to hold the space and point to what's actually going on. That is the learning behind the learning that facilitates people learning how to learn.
Let's go through another example. This is great, but let's just go through another example. Let's go in an organizational context, if you would.
Give me a bit more. Let's say a culture change.
Let's say two colleagues having a conversation and having a challenging conversation about something.
Yeah. Okay. One has the integral semantic facilitation matrix on board. They've done the program. The other one's got no fucking idea. So the one that's got no fucking idea says, you know, when you do that, it really hurts me and it's disrespectful. Yeah. So as the integral semantic facilitator, I can hear that they're interpreting my intention of my behavior as disrespectful. And I can go simply and move with them and go, I apologize. It wasn't my intention. Can I check in? Where did you get disrespect from? How did you arrive at my intention being disrespectful? Because it's not what I see. Tell me about that. Now the person's going, well, you know, when people do that in my world, it's disrespectful. And I can go, so I'm hearing that that's the meaning you're bringing to my behaviors. So what I'm asking is a different question. How do you know that I was intending to be disrespectful? They go, well, I don't. And then I can step into, because I'm present here, I can step into the paradox and go, so is there a potential that I had a different intent? Potential is that, are you interested in hearing what my intention was? And so we're able to elevate immediately the conversation to the next level and then I might bring reframing into it through presence, and I might say, so in your world, I hear that was disrespectful. Actually, what I meant to communicate was this. I meant to communicate not that I was being disrespectful. I meant to communicate that I cared. So immediately I'm able to catch frames, hold the conversation, point to what's actually going on, which is their meaning-making structures, got nothing to do with what I was communicating, and investigate by seeking first to understand how you're making that meaning, and is that meaning, and which we look at the quadrants, is that meaning grounded in factual evidence, or is it actually your interpretation? In a facilitation example, we'll quite often have people go, I'll give you a good example. We had a student in a workshop some time ago, and let's call him Bob. And Bob was constantly asking questions, going, I don't agree with that. I think that, that's narrow-minded. I think that you're, I hear that's what you believe. And we would go, okay, so tell us about where that thinking comes from. Tell us about your thinking behind that thinking. Let us help you understand your perspective. And then we would begin to feed back meta programs. Anyway, so about day 3, Bob had the shits, and we were getting into a conversation which got into political stuff. And Bob stood up and said, this is not what I came here for. Yeah. So immediately stood in opposition, immediately creating a polarity. Yeah. As an integral semantic facilitator, yeah, we simply facilitated that by going, okay, we're hearing so what are you pointing to that isn't what you came here for? I didn't come here to discuss politics, is what Bob said. Yeah. And so immediately as an integral semantic facilitator, we said, what did you come here for, Bob? I came here, Bob said, I came here to learn, grow, and develop. And so now we're able to go look at the situation from a presence perspective and go, what is the learning available to this person that they're utterly missing? And then we can go, so let me just check in. Can you hear that you're holding on to a belief structure that this program should run differently to how you imagined or what you expected it to be? Bob said, yep. And we turned around and said, can you hear that's exactly what this program's about? Freeing yourself from your own expectations. Stick it up your ass. I'm out of here. We said, see you later. Have a nice day. And so we don't, we don't need to make a big thing of that. We don't need to get involved with that. Where there's an opportunity to present something back to Bob, if Bob's open and willing to listen to that. Other than that, it's Bob's subjective opinion. It's not fact. Another example of a person in our course, one person said, we're not getting this. And it was Joseph at the time said, who's we? The question said, we're not getting this. And Joseph said, I'm hearing that's your perspective, and it's lovely that you're talking on behalf of everybody. How do you know that everybody here is not getting it? The person turned around to the audience and said, well, let me check in. Are we getting it? And people went, yeah, I think we're getting it. Yep. One person went, no, I'm not really getting it. And Joseph turned around and said, so the we is you too. So the person was speaking what we call across what pronoun distortions, which is the quadrants, distorting pronouns and globalizing, and then projecting that out as everybody's experience. And so as integral semantic facilitators, we're able to hear the frames being set. We're able to hear the polarity being offered. We're able to not only manage and lead the frames, but lead the polarities to create the energy that creates the understanding that facilitates the growth and the development within the person. And so that's what integral semantic facilitators is able to do, is to awaken that potential in people, is to awaken that potential to facilitate one-on-one, one-on-group energy, movement, learning and development through understanding how polarities work and how language works and how pronouns work across what we call pronoun hygiene across the quadrants. Understand when a person is operating from their subjective opinion but phrasing it as fact. Or they're operating from their subjective opinion, but phrasing it as everybody's opinion. We're able to hear that distinction, hold it, call it out, and bring awareness to it where no awareness existed before. A really good example of that is when one of our participants says, you know, when you do this and when you do that, one of the first things we'll say is, are you talking about me or you? And about me. And I'm going to say, well, you said you talking about me when you said that, not you. Indeed, you even pointed to me. You do that. And so the moment the person does that, they get awareness of how they're using language. And then they go, yeah, well, you do that. I do that, don't I? And suddenly they start to take responsibility for the language they're using in communicating the message they really want to communicate to. So we can get clarity, we can get effective awareness, we can get movement, energy, and we can get development and evolution occurring very, very fast. And that's what this program is about doing as a facilitator of other human beings.
Great. I don't know if there's anything else to be said, except for what have we got coming up? What have I thought?
It's an intensive program, and it isn't easy. And I'm not saying that to create a polarity. It genuinely is not an easy program to go through, because it's going to bring up the belief structures. It's going to bring up the value structures. It's going to bring up the identity structures that arise for you in the face of not only individual others, but collective others. Many people, and I would go so far as to say most people, struggle when groups get larger. And an example of that would be, you know, having a one-on-one conversation is a lot easier for most people than having a conversation with 1,000 people and being front and center and facilitating that conversation, when actual fact, there isn't any difference. You've moved from one to plural. And so what arises is a sense of self. All these eyeballs are on me. External authority arises. All of my childhood fears arise when I stood up and spoke in front of the class, and I might have fucked it up, or I might have stumbled, or I might have stuttered, or all of that stuff arises in the background that informs the foreground, and suddenly I get nervous and my throat contracts, goes dry and starts to stick to the roof of my mouth, and my eyes dry up and I can't blink properly, and I go bright red. And so integral semantics is understanding how to take a sidestep, really look at how you're creating that shit, free yourself from it in order to show up as you would show up with one person, with 1,000 people. Not only show up, but actually effectively move that group of 1,000 or 10 or 2, actually move those people energetically from their present state to their desired state, to really give them not what they thought they were coming from, not what they wanted, but indeed what they needed. And that's what this program is about. And if you're up for that, disturbance in the force of your self structures, and you want to lean in to looking at yourself through the lenses of the Integral-Semantic Facilitator Certification model and matrix, looking at yourself through the quadrants, looking at how you use language, shifting, changing and adjusting that, growing and developing your capacity to language and to listen simultaneously, then this program, whether it's professional facilitation or parenting or leading or managing a team, and our hope is that we see you in the room. Max is going to put forward a community-based offer, I believe, after this, and Joseph's going to be talking about different aspects of integral semantic facilitators. We want to see you in the room. If you're brave enough or or stupid enough to come and join us, we hope to see you. Joseph and I will be facilitating this one, so come see us in the room.
Perfect. Thanks, Jay. Matt?
Yep, so as Jay mentioned, this is a 6-day course, and we start on the 14th of July, which is a Friday. It runs Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with a month break, and then another 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, from the 4th to the 6th of July. The program does cost $3,300. As Jay said, we'll run a community offer on that. And so if you are interested in that, then send me an email. My email is max.young@thecoachingroom.com.au, and we can go from there.
Fantastic. And we've got another session next week. So if you're watching this in the future, there are 2 videos for you to watch, and they will both be on the YouTube channel as well as blog posts on the site. And that is coming up this year in July. If you're watching this in the future beyond the course start, then check the description link and get in touch with Max for future dates as well, because the course will be run again, but probably not for another year. So is that right, Jay?
Let me add to that, Martin. So
Yeah.
we only run this program in Sydney once a year. Yeah. So Joseph and I will be facilitating this one. It may be the last one we do together. James, Max, Madeline, Deborah, Sue, Sterling, those people are stepping up as trainers of our NLP practitioners, Coaching Genius, Coaching Mastery. They are stepping up and doing an amazing job in leading the coaching room from a facilitation perspective. Joseph and I are working on different aspects. I'm working with sporting organizations in the field of high performance. I'm working in leadership development. Joseph's working in the spiritual inquiry space. Both of us are leading those areas of the coaching room. So it may indeed be the last one that Joseph and I do together. So if you want to see us in action and join us, get your ass in the room.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Max. And to everyone else, see you in the community. Take care.